This is We the Sales Engineers Podcast, show 333.
Welcome to We the SEs Podcast, the show for sales engineers by sales engineers with your host, Ramsey Majaba.
Hey, Rick.
Hey, Ramsey, how you doing?
I'm good. I had to interrupt you mid-sentence because you've been, I don't want to say spewing, but you've been spewing gems. And we had to start recording, so I'm going to start recording. Continue, or better yet, introduce yourself to the folks.
Well, that's great, because you know what I call pre-sales engineering? A hidden gem.
What do you call?
So you're saying, I was spewing gems, and I actually believe that pre-sales engineering is a hidden gem that a lot of people don't even know exists. I know I didn't. So Rick Byrne, based out of Edmonton, Alberta. Go Oilers, go! You go for the Oilers too, right, Ramsey?
I am today.
Okay, beautiful. So yeah, Edmonton Oilers, that hockey game.
They play football, right?
Say that again?
They play football,
yes,
right?
Exactly. Football. 100%, right? It's a little cold, but we play football in the cold. That's what we do in Canada, even the US. But based out of Edmonton, Alberta, I work for a data resilience company called Beam Software. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but cyber resiliency, data protection from hypervisors, hyperscalers, SaaS offerings, backup as a service. The list goes on, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. But that's what I do. I care about resiliency. I really believe in leadership and leadership in the stance of not you can become a leader, but just because you manage people does not mean you're a leader. I was a leader way before I actually managed people, because I actually lead up the sales engineering group for Beam Canada. But it's about the leadership, what you do right for people, how you drive messages forward. Just can you look from somebody else's perspective or point of view? So that's my quick story. I'm a father of two. They're grown adults now, pretty much. 24 boy who's an esports player. Right? Literally plays video games for a living, went to the Commonwealth Games. I have a daughter, 19. She decided to take a couple of gap years from school, but before that, she was a professional cheerleader. So yeah, I was a cheer dad with my little pom-poms. They don't actually use pom-poms, in case you were wondering. That's not what happens. Now, funny enough, she's just went into sales and got her first sales job selling vehicles, selling big trucks. So and I'm a dog dad. I love Yorkies. Nice. I got 3 of them. That's what I take care of.
3 Yorkies. Nice. It sounds like you have a full life, so that's amazing.
Not a full head of hair, but a full life, yes.
Yeah, full life. I'm not going to comment about the hair then. Moving on. So you mentioned like you're a leader right now, but you also were telling me how you were a knob turner.
Yes.
So what were you doing before you actually found solution engineering, and how did you fall into it?
Yeah, so let's go back to, I guess, almost 2000 when I graduated high school. Or do we have enough time? How long is this podcast supposed to be, Ramsey?
Well, I was long enough to tell your life story.
Okay, fair. So way back when, I'm not originally from Edmonton, Alberta, and people who are from Canada may pick up on an accent once in a while, but I'm a Newfoundlander, born and raised, okay? So born on the rock, Newfie, fine, loved it. Moved to Alberta probably 20 years ago now. But before that, I was always a tinkerer. I loved breaking things, fixing things, even as a kid, breaking apart Legos, putting them back together, breaking apart my little trucks and seeing how they worked and throw it on a bookcase and forget about it. That learned into tinkering with information technology, and I really enjoyed it. The only thing I enjoyed of high school and school was actual technology. The other stuff I didn't care too much about. We'll say lesson learned. I probably should have paid attention to some stuff because I could probably pronunciate words a little bit better if I had to do that. But long story short, I got in and had children pretty early on in my age anyways, as a young adult, and I started as a finished carpenter because, of course, I love fixing things. Then I realized that wasn't for me. I went back to school and decided at 65 I could do information technology because it wasn't as hard on the back, the knees, everything that goes with finished carpentry. So long story short again, poof, I moved to Edmonton, Alberta to work in IT. I actually started working for Dell way back when as an enterprise tech support agent, I was a Dell certified expert, going down those cases, helping customers all across the U.S. on capacitors blown. I don't know if you ever remember that, but the capacitor issue at one point in time where motherboards were blowing up all over the place because wrong ingredients used, basically.
Yeah.
So as I was going down through that path, I got more into the IT I really loved, and that was being in a data center, working in a data center, standing up infrastructure from the ground up, building again, right? Building,
Yeah.
racking servers. When people racked and stacked things, I don't know if you know what that is, but there's racks
Yeah.
in big rooms that are loud, and you push a server into it and you jam your finger, and then you get to deal with all the networking cable. Moved on, I got involved in the community and I did a bit of blogging. And one of the solutions I really got into was virtualization. That's the thing that really piqued my interest. Like, oh, you take this box, you put something on it, and you start building out all these other boxes. And now you can have everything highly available, fault tolerant, so on and so forth throughout everything. But at that time, I was also using some solutions that were difficult for data protection. Right. So, of course,
Okay.
I ran into a company called Veeam that I'm still with today and started leveraging their solutions. Now I know, Rick, how did you get into pre-sales engineering? I'm getting there. I'm getting there. So the
Yeah.
pre-sales engineering piece was because I was blogging about Veeam. I was a VMUG user group leader, very involved in the community, and I had no trouble talking about the things I really loved. Okay. And that'll get
Yeah.
more into the point as we go. So sooner or later, Veeam reached out to me through LinkedIn, a salesperson nonetheless, and said, "Hey, Rick, we have a position. It sounds great for you. We see you're involved here, here, here." I was like, "No, thank you. That sounds like sales to me. I'm not going to the dark side. It's never going to happen. I'm not a seller. Sorry." So they kept after me and we kept communicating. I knew some people through Veeam, through product strategy and more evangelists. And I reached out to one of them and said, "Hey, I got somebody kind of talking to me about Veeam and being a sales engineer." We called it systems engineer at the time. We still do, but it's a
Yep.
sales engineer, and the other 55 different other names a person who works in pre-sales could be called. So I talked to them.
Yep.
They're like, "You know what? Veeam's pretty technical still. You still got to be a very technical person. You're going to have a lot of technical conversations." So I joined. Okay. Long story short, my first day on the job, I get thrown into a client's office and I'm told to tell them about the solution. So what's Rick do? Go all feature, function. Again, I was the knob
The
turner.
knobs.
So because I love turning the knobs, now they enjoyed that immensely. And Veeam, where it was at that point in time, was you needed to understand it because you need to understand virtualization. It was fairly new. You need to understand what the benefit of using an agentless based approach to protecting large amounts of data inside one physical box and how that works and the abstracts of how you could recover from that. Really needed a technical mindset. But of course, things changed over time. And one of the biggest challenges I had was finally figuring out what pre-sales actually was. What was Rick's job? What should Rick do? And could I say there was a bunch of books and mentors I could leverage? Not really. I know I'm going back about 12 years ago, but even at that point in time, I'd even say today, there wasn't a lot of people talking about pre-sales engineering and what you should do. One of the individuals that I looked up to is John Keir, and a lot of the information that he shared out there because it helped me grow into what I needed to be, which was a seller. Now,
Right.
we go back to when I was in the VMUG, when I started talking about different products, whether that was virtualization and VMware or Palo Alto Networks or Veeam, I was always selling. I just never knew it. I was selling to the CIO. I was selling to the business. I was selling them on the business challenge that I was facing, that this said solution, if they give me some money and I can now change the money with a vendor, would solve our challenges. So as I was going down that path and realizing to myself, I was always a seller. It's just now different. Now I was no longer the smartest person in the room. I was the opposite of that. I was a subject matter expert for Veeam, but I didn't understand every single business I was going into, whether that was energy, oil, finance, retail, the list goes on and on. I was getting now the best of both worlds. I got to go in and finally realize I had to listen. I had to ask some questions to figure out about their businesses, their challenges they were facing, and move on from there and become a sales engineer that was still categorized as a systems engineer. But I knew in my mind now I was a sales engineer. So it was a mixture of consultative approach, but being transparent, but also trying to look through other people's perspective, perception, and put myself in their point of view, understand what they were facing on a day to day. So that's how I got into sales engineering. So SE for a long time in Western Canada, kind of covering that, went into more of a solution architecture role, building up more of the bigger architectures across the Americas. And about 5 years ago, because I'm such a smart individual, no, I decided to move into management right as the pandemic hit. I didn't know the pandemic was
Nice.
coming. So it was that other thing of now I had to figure out how to manage when everybody, even myself, was going through some turbulent times. So I know I said a lot there, Ramsey, and I'll be quiet.
I'm just writing down the last question. All right. So you were active online. So someone from Veeam reached out to you, a salesperson.
Right.
Had they worked with you in the past as a customer or just cold call?
More on LinkedIn to approach me because I was already a Veeam customer and I was one of the largest Veeam customers at that time in Western Canada, if not Canada as a whole, because I had a fairly large data center that Veeam was deployed within. And I never kind of dealt with my sales reps just for the fact that this is Rick being bad. I never thought they added value to me, right? Maybe that was the salespeople I approached, but I always went car sales, right? I always thought car
Yeah,
sales. They're just trying to
that's
do
normal.
the thing that's right for them, not the thing that's right for me. And that's how I've built myself over the years, always thinking back to that. Rick, when you're having this conversation, are you a car salesperson? Or are
Right.
you actually thinking about it the right way? So I didn't have a great relationship with my Veeam sellers, but at the same time, that was okay for them because they never had to deal with me because I was already an evangelist of the solution.
Right. So you bought, would you say you bought the solution, or I don't know if you had any, did you have a decision in buying the solution, or
Yes.
was it somebody else and you had to, okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, then why did you buy their solution if they were such a car salesman?
I'm not saying they were specifically car salesmen. I'm saying that's what this is Rick
Your
going
mentality.
back. My mentality was saying now they're sales, they're in it just for them. They're not in it for
Yeah.
me. They're just wanting me to buy something from them, right? No matter what I'm going to ask them, they're
Yeah.
going to have a solution for, of course. They're not going to
Yep.
clear actually what I need. And again, I was always the knob turner. And
Yep.
I do have the whole concept of highly functional anxiety. I live with it. It's my superpower. I love it. It lives inside of me. It's the head that keeps me going all the time. But because of that, I researched in depth all the time. So I would leverage. I literally the first time I ran into Veeam, it was on VMware, VMworld. I used to go there every year. I ran into this booth of everybody wearing green and all hyped up and excited, and they threw me a USB key. Yeah, I said a USB key. The software was on that, right? Not anymore. You download it, but it was on a key. And I still got a shirt in there that's called Veeam is for virtualization lovers, and it's a big heart, and that's kind of the banner they had. And I should have brought it out, but I wasn't going to talk about Veeam today. But the whole concept was I took that. Of course, Expo Floor. I'm sure you've been to some industry events, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yep.
industry events usually on the when it kicks off, there's a few drinks kicking around. There's coffee if you want it, there's water, there's juice, but there's another substance that flows around these things. And let's just say
Yeah.
I might have had a couple of these substances. Then I went back to my hotel room. It's like 12:30 at night, and I have Veeam deployed in 15 minutes and back in a virtual
Right.
machines in a pre-prod type of environment. I didn't go all crazy. This wasn't production stuff I did it on.
Yeah.
But nonetheless,
Okay.
even after having a couple of, drinks, I went back, installed it, was using it, and it was intuitive. I'm right clicking, I'm doing stuff, I'm restoring. I mean, Veeam's a totally different solution than what it was back then. But nonetheless, I already had it figured out. So that's why I didn't deal with sales. My sales interaction was there on the show floor. I grabbed my USB key and I was a sole customer from that point on.
Okay. Nice. So I always thought like expos are kind of useless. You show up there, you drink, and you meet some people, you build relationships, and then you take off and no one learned anything. So it sounds like, at least for that one, it was very useful to you.
I love them. So when I go to those events, you know where I spend my time? Not at the sessions, because that's all recorded.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
somebody getting up and you're getting to hear their thought process on something. But that's the only
Yep.
place that I can walk around and talk to every single vendor. I might get a shirt out of it. I might not. I could give my information if I want to that they can connect with me, but I can delete that stuff easily. But within an hour of walking the show floor, that could be days worth of research before we had the internet like we do today and other AI
Yeah.
assistants that can help us narrow down things. But then I considered them invaluable. They were priceless because I could just spend all my time there, get everything on my research, then puddle off, do my
Nice.
little knob turning. It used to excite me. And then that's where I used to spend time with the community as well, because they were doing the same thing. You get to meet other bloggers. I know this sounds kind of crazy, but I was even shy at sometimes going up to these bloggers that I've been following for years. And it's almost like that celebrity thing. Nobody else knows who they are.
Yeah.
They don't even know they're a celebrity, but they're a celebrity to me, right? It was,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And you mentioned that you realized that you've always been a seller.
Yes,
It took you a while.
100%. My hardest challenge
What
getting into pre-sales.
What did you think you were? Even when you moved into solution engineering or systems engineering, what did you think the job was, if not a seller?
To deploy, implement, make sure that my technology was the best technology, to make sure that I was the expert in the room and I had all the answers. That when somebody said, well, here's an objection for you, Rick. Well, theme, agentless. Is it really agentless? And there's still going to be the CPU impact now on my host and this and that, and that's going to cost me money. For Rick to have the answer. And yes, that's part of my role, but that wasn't the only part of the role, right?
Well, what's popping in my head is like, for what purpose would you have needed to know if not to sell, right? Like, so you were selling. It's just you didn't know that was selling.
Yeah, I
guess
almost
that's what
thought I was
you
educating. Let's call it that. I was
Okay.
an
You were an
educator
educator.
around more of that technology than mapping a technology to a business outcome. Because that's what it truly is.
Right.
Like, Ramsey, if I'm talking to you and we're talking about, I don't know, I'll sell you a car, right?
All right.
If I'm
Sure.
talking to you and you walk in, I'm like, hey, Ramsey, you're here to buy a vehicle today. Do I have the wood for you? It's right here. Low interest rates. Tariffs are coming in. This is the time to buy, Ramsey. You need this one right now. Now that's what I go. That's sales, right? They're looking at me to become my friend right away,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
they're just here. This is the thing that has the best spiff on the lot. This is where I'm going to make my most money. Boom! I'm going to get Ramsey
Yeah.
into this truck. When really the first thing I should have said to Ramsey is, "Brings you in here today? What's exciting, right? What exciting happened to you today, Ramsey? Play along with me, Ramsey. What's exciting today?"
Well, I'm talking to you, man.
Oh, wow. I appreciate that. Did you bring any of your family here today?
No, today is not the family decision day. It's my looking around day.
Oh, awesome. So are you here for something for yourself or a loved one? Like, what brings you in? What are you looking for?
My wife wants a van, and I do not. So I'm trying to figure out what is best for the family without me looking like a soccer dad.
All right. So when you're typically not here and you get to spend time with your loved ones, what are you doing? What are you and the wife and the family out doing?
Or going to soccer.
Always soccer?
Jiu-jitsu, school, just different places.
You managing any of it? Like, do you lead up any of the teams? The soccer, or I don't know if jiu-jitsu has teams as per se, but like, are you...
I don't lead the team. I volunteer at the jiu-jitsu dojo.
Hey, what about the soccer?
The soccer, no, they have a million coaches and whatnot.
Gotcha.
So they don't need me.
So let me ask you this. It always makes me wonder because, hey, my daughter did cheerleading and I used to always get stuck with the friends and all that stuff. Did a lot of other people get stuck in your vehicle with you? Going out for ice cream?
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay. So,
yeah.
I hate to say it, but I agree with your wife a little bit, right?
I don't like you right now.
Well, hold on. Let's not go too. I said a little bit, okay? So,
a little bit, all right.
Van, you're going to need at least a 7-seater, right? At a minimum, and a little bit of cargo space. Would you see this Yukon I got sitting over there? 7-seater, lots of cargo space, kind of a van, but kind of something I could see Ramsey in.
Yeah.
right?
We're gonna have to look at the budget. Yeah,
Oh,
no, I get it.
100%, 100%. But you
Yeah,
see that different type of thing, and that's where it's at.
yeah,
I had to learn myself that, you know what?
yeah,
Ramsey's a human. Ramsey has stuff happening around him. And that could be the same as an organization. If you're in a boardroom full of people, the organization is the thing that's happening around them.
yeah.
That's their perception. Now I have to try to put myself into their point of view, looking at the perception and the perception that surrounds them. And where's the challenges they sit? The same thing is, that's where I had to put myself to be more in sales than educator.
What's the aha moment that got you to figure that out?
Failure, lots of it. I don't think there was one aha moment. There was, again, like I mentioned, I do have highly functional anxiety. Am I clinically proven to have it? No, but I know I have it, right? I know
Okay.
things that happen in my head. But again, it's a superpower. I've had it since I was this tall. I know that wasn't that long ago, right? But really, I'm only 4'3". I use the camera; it makes me seem so much bigger. But
You look 6 foot tall,
yeah,
tall
okay,
right now.
perfect,
So
perfect. I think it's the hair. Uh, it was that whole concept of the small failures, going into a room and trying to challenge a customer, learning that one thing right from the get go. Like, Rick, drop your ego because ego is the enemy. And it took me years to learn that too. But it was that whole concept of, you know what, they are right. And whether they're right or wrong, it doesn't matter. That's what they need to do in their business, whether it's a procedure or policy they have. I'm not there to change that. I'm there to see how we can map to it. If we can map to it, fine. If this is end of discussion, that's okay too, because you sometimes got to bring that up. So, multiple failures from pushing clients a little bit where I shouldn't, checking my ego, getting into a presentation and just seeing it didn't hit right. You feel it in the room, right? You feel it. You
yeah,
see it in the faces. You know you've lost them, or you're
yeah.
telling a story and it just didn't go right, or you can just tell you just didn't have it right. Working with sellers and getting the feedback that, Rick, you could have approached that differently and being offensive about it to begin with. Oh, that was you. I did my part. You missed out. You didn't educate me on what should have happened in that room. And could that be the case? Yes, but that's on Rick. I'm part of a sales cycle. I'm part of the client team. So I should have reached out and checked with the customer to see if it did align, right? I shouldn't blame somebody else for that. That's my failure. So all those little failures, I've failed more than I've succeeded. And I'm going to fail a lot more times before I succeed. But every single time I fail, I hope to take that little piece. So I don't keep doing it. I don't keep repeating
Yeah.
it, right? I learn
I,
from it.
I, I'm hearing two things right now. I mean, there's probably a lot more, but right, the things that are popping in my head. You're talking about self awareness or self evaluation,
Yeah,
constant self evaluation. That's what you're kind of doing, and also you're owning it. Like extreme, you know the book Extreme
yeah,
Ownership,
yeah.
Jocko
Oh, I
Willing.
love Jocko.
So I love him too. He doesn't know who I am, but it's
Me
one
neither.
sided. Uh, so uh, basically, you're using those two principles together to figure out like where am I missing stuff and how do I fix it,
Yeah.
and how do I take responsibility and fix what I can for the situation, uh, which I find a lot of SEs don't do that.
No,
A lot of people don't do that. It's not just SEs.
no,
Like
no.
if if
Humans.
if a customer, yeah, if a customer said no, it's like all right, they said no. It's not really my fault. It's just the way it is, right? It wasn't my deal to lose to begin with. Versus like what could we have done differently or what could we have modified. So I like that. And the next thing on my list is, all right, now you've realized that there are some things that you need to tweak.
Mhm.
How did you know what was the right thing to do? Like, why did you know that listening was the right thing to do, for example?
That's a tough one. That goes to the self awareness as well, but also I've read hundreds of books, sales books, right? And self help,
Okay.
not even sales books, self help books.
Yep.
Because if there's anything I've learned, we can always improve, right? So
Yep.
I always look at the approach, and every single year I come up with a new word to drive my year. It doesn't have to be massive. It doesn't have to have these moonshot goals to it. If they got them, they're there, but fine. Like my word this year is uncomfortable. Now, why is Rick working on that today? And what do I mean? Not uncomfortable like the dentist trying to have a conversation with their hand in the mouth. Not that type of uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Challenging myself, putting myself out there and being in uncomfortable places. Now, like I've told you, anxiety, it means I'm uncomfortable in a lot of places, right?
Right. Yeah.
But it's challenging myself to get into a better room from time to time where the individuals there can challenge me every day to find the pieces I need to improve on. So it's not like it just, there's ones that are earth shattering, right? Where
Yeah.
you go, I got to work on that. I've been sitting here listening to this person for 10 minutes. I don't remember a thing they said because in my head is going crazy trying to
Yeah.
remember what's the next objection that's going to come up. Oh, I heard that one word they said. I know the answer to this question. I haven't even asked the question yet. So you start to, again, you're looking, you got to be aware of the moment. If you're not aware of the moment, you'll never pick it up. And that's what happens. Sometimes people never pick up their own challenges and their own weakness and places they can improve because they never see it. And they're not willing to take that feedback from another individual in some cases. So I've always been trying to be hyper aware of myself to go, is Rick listening? Actually, funny story. So just happened last night. I got home. I was in Toronto earlier in the week. I got home 10 o'clock last night. Wife, God love her, picked me up from the airport, right? Came home. Long day. I was up 5 o'clock in the morning, Eastern Standard Time. Got into Edmonton 9:30. So if you start to look at that time frame, that's a bit of a time frame with the time change.
Yeah.
So I get home and she's there talking to me, telling me about her day, had to take a dog to the vet. She had all this stuff on the go. And all of a sudden, again, I'm a little sleepy. She's talking away. My phone buzzes. I pick up and I start responding to something.
Yeah.
Rick screwed up. Right there. I screwed up. I shut her down. She stopped talking, even though she came, took time out of her day to come pick me up at the airport. I didn't click in. And again, because my self-awareness is off as I get tired, and like everybody, sooner or later, your mental motivation and everything starts to drop, your willpower. So I did a stupid move. Now, how did I make that better? Once I realized I did it, because I could tell, because she said, you just ignored me. That's how I told. Because she told me that, hey, Rick, that was terrible. Now I could have got all offensive. And in my state of mind, maybe that's the first approach my head wanted to do. But what did Rick do? He went silent because something is learned that, hey, if you have nothing nice to say, just shut your mouth for a second. Think about it before you respond.
Yeah.
So I did. Shut my mouth. I was quiet. I said, I'm sorry. But after, 5 minutes and we got all squared away, I took the moment to apologize and literally say that was totally inappropriate. I shouldn't have been on my phone. I should have been zoned into you at that moment while you're talking to me. And I'm going to do better. And I'm going to learn from that. And I will make sure I learn from that. So this morning I went down and I had my phone in my hand. She was sitting on the couch. I put my phone in my pocket, asked her how her morning was, try to see what else I could get from her. Once she was done her moment in time, I stepped away and pulled my phone out of my pocket and started responding again. Because in that state, it's not about just recognizing it. It's improving on it and making sure you do that every single day. Right?
Yeah. I like that. And then you mentioned that you said yes to management like right before COVID.
Yes.
I want to ask like why you said yes to management, but you kind of answered by saying like uncomfortable is the word of the year. But was it uncomfortable, the word of the year 5 years ago?
No. I'm not sure what it was back then. I think it was togetherness. Okay. I could be off a couple of years.
Sure.
But during that time, we dealt with something as a family that blew up our world, my world, our family's world. My wife was diagnosed with cancer, right? About 6.5 years ago. Healthy, all good.
Good. Glad to hear
happy
that.
Story, nothing like that. But it puts things in a different light, right? When you deal with something like that as a family. And that's when I started to deep dive into myself a little bit too and realize that I could do more. I could become a better human, right? I could try to I don't ever want to be known for anything. It's not that, but I could maybe help somebody with the experiences I've had with dealing with a family member going through that and what it did to me as a human, what it did to my children, my wife, right? And how we were resilient throughout that. I think the year before that was actually resiliency was the word, even though that's a very common word used today, but it's adaptability.
Right.
And that's when I started doing more self-help type of things. Like, and the whole thing was happening around leadership, and I knew I typically went towards leadership again. I didn't have people to manage, but I did take on responsibility and put my hand up to do this hard thing or this challenge. I've always been the type to kind of gravitate towards, hey, I think this needs to be done. Do you mind if I just go do it? And they're like, no, go do it. Okay, cool. And then I would lead that charge. But I started reading kind of books around leadership and more around the management of people, because that's usually what leadership comes into in that type of terminology. And I started to realize it was a lot of the things I was already doing or enjoyed doing, whether that was educating, a part of sales, right? Not the entire piece of sales, but a part of it. My biggest challenge is I'm introverted. You may not think I'm introverted because I don't come off as an introverted person, but I'm an ambivert. I'm in between, but I need to charge up by being away from human interaction or big groups anyways. So that was my challenge. I was like, okay, people leaders need to be extroverted because you got to have empathy for people. You got to want to know about their kids and their family. And I'm like, that's not my cup of tea. And then I started to realize it's not about knowing about their family. It's actually about caring about the things that go on in their lives besides work. Like, what's 10 years look like for an individual? And can I help them get there in 10 years? What's happening in your life right now that I might be able to loosen the load? I mean, I'm a manager, but I've dealt with really good management and I've dealt with really bad management. And we spend so much time in a working life and dealing with individuals that, guess what? It can make your life really hard if you don't have a good manager, because that's such a tremendous part of your life that people don't even realize, right? Like, I've been at Beam 12 years. It's 12 years of my life. They've been through multiple different journeys with me. So I started, again, to not go too long-winded on this, but as you can see, I'm passionate about it. It's that whole concept of, I started to realize I was willing to do the job of people leadership and forget about the job I was really good at, which was a systems engineer. Because you do get that problem where you get really good individual contributors move into leadership, but they never wanted to be there. They still want to be the super SE or that expert. They didn't want to take on the roles and responsibilities that they're responsible for, because if you don't do them, nobody else is going to do them, right? Yeah. So that's where I was like, I can do this, and I think I can. It's a risk. It's a challenge. I might suck at it, but I will fail, and I will suck at it at times, but hopefully I will take that, learn from it, be a better person, and hopefully make somebody else's life a little easier. At the same time, maybe make them harder, but you got to learn, right?
So, like, what I'm hearing from you is you wanted to help people. You wanted to help your SEs, which is great. That's like, whenever I think of leadership, I think of that. What are some of the things that are hidden, that are behind the scenes? What are, like you mentioned, you have to responsibilities. If you don't want to do that, then no one gets done. What are those things that no one sees you do, that you have to do on a daily or weekly or monthly basis?
I wouldn't even say it's they don't see me do it, but there's a big thing: career development. Some leadership literally focus on the moments in time, and the moments in time are right now, whether that's hitting quarter, customer satisfaction issue, the list goes on. There's so many things that just happen right in front of us, and we focus on that one moment in time instead of also looking back to say, well, Ramsey, where do you see yourself in 10 years? And that could be retirement. That could be spending more time with family. That could be retire, or maybe your wife is career focused and maybe you plan to move to the US in the next 5 years. Now, if Rick has that discussion, can I help you get there? Maybe not with the company that we work together with, right? But maybe I can either look for roles that open you up to that outside of my organization, Maybe I know contacts, or at least I can help lead you towards a path that gets you more into a global position. Maybe that location doesn't matter. So hopefully it maps to your 5-year plan, because your life goals assign to your career goals, right? Because you do
Yep.
career, because you know, in the world, I say
Yeah.
we don't live to work, we work to
Work
live,
to live.
right?
Yep.
That's what we should do anyways. But work, we need money, we need enjoyment, relaxation. But
Yep.
monetary gains, I could say also, Ramsey, as we're going down the path, again, it's having the conversations with an individual, person to person. Money may not be the biggest thing for you. It could be career
Yep.
advancement. It could be education. And I say, hey, excellent, Ramsey, I just got you an extra, 15% increase. And you're like, I don't care. I quit. And Rick goes, why did Ramsey quit? That doesn't make sense to me. Why would he do that? Because I did all the wrong things. So
Yep.
that's one of the things. The other thing is there's politics, right?
Yeah.
There's
Well, tell me about the politics, because no one talks about that. No, that's
well,
people try to shy away from it.
yeah, and I mean, I'm not going to go into anything too deep on it, but it is the
That's
whole
fair.
concept of there's quotas. Everybody has quotas in sales, right? I mean, we're
Yep.
talking about
Yep.
sales engineering and sales things. There's
Yep.
quotas that had to be met. We don't sales individuals get paid by the company by the money you bring in. So you pay for yourself is the best way to put it. Of course, there's other ways around it, and there's other things that go into play. And it's not as simple as, oh, this much money you bring in comes back to you. No, the company's got to make money too. There's other
Yep.
overhead costs, whether that's support organizations, R&D, the list goes on. But there's a number that has to be held. And that comes with the political play to a certain extent, because you can get higher numbers, lower numbers. It's depending on geographies, all these different things. There's also educational things. So fighting for the right to have education within an organization that pays dividends,
Yep.
right? The other fight for the right is, hey, we're trying to promote a work-life balance. How do we do that if we're expecting, because in sales, you don't really work 9 to 5s. But if I send a note to an individual who works for me after 5 o'clock their time, I'm telling them to pay attention to me and not what's ever happening in their personal life right now. So I do my best, and sometimes it's a very rare case I may have to send something outside of working hours, what I would consider a 9 to 5, even though we don't work 9 to 5s. I will not send an email. I will schedule an email to go out the next morning during working hours. And if an individual reaches out to me, I will respond to them. But I will try my darndest not to be that pop up on somebody's screen. And sure, you can go into do not disturb modes and all this stuff, but this is something I actively do that nobody probably realizes I do. Why doesn't Rick send emails after 5 my time? Because I try not to. It doesn't always work. There's always that
Yeah.
911 where people got to get involved and you rally everybody
Yeah.
around it. But it's that concept, right? And it's the other thing is recognition. It's key. It's hard. Again, I'm introverted by nature, so things that doesn't matter to me, I know matters to other people. Whether that's birthdays, whether that's anniversaries, whether that's I don't care if I get a pat on the back. I never have. I never will. I actually look at it from the opposite view sometimes. I don't want the limelight. I like to step away from it. That's why I went into management, because I knew that was a part I was okay with, celebrating my successes through the people who work with me every single day, right? I'm not the one getting the success anymore. I get the benefit of seeing them succeed, which gives me the rah, 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 I did something right, hopefully. But some people need the tap on the back, right? So it's trying to do a conscious effort when I see something, some celebration, a tremendous amount of extra work put into a client, or that presentation was epic, or even support personnel that has nothing to do with me, as they don't report into me by any means. But even if a support person does something amazing, because we need our support organizations when we're talking about technology, software, anything. They're the ones that usually get the least amount of credit and the most amount of flack, because they're dealing with when people are upset, something's broke. They're not calling them because they want to chat with the support person, or they're going to take them out for lunch. That's not what's happening. They're calling them because it's broken. They're calling support because they've tried everything else. So it's a blow up moment, right? Everybody needs it fixed right away. And those support people don't get enough of respect they deserve. So I also try to reach out to other parts of my organization to say thank you. Thank you for the support. Now, is that something that's built into me? No, it's an action I got to take and remind myself to get a little bit better. Remembering names, even, I have trouble with it. And I try to be better with it because the sweetest thing to everybody is hearing their own name, right? Randy?
Yeah. Yeah.
See?
Well,
You like that?
I don't know. When my wife calls me, it sounds a lot better, but you know,
Fair.
I get what you're trying to say.
Fair.
Yeah, but it is, all these little things are so difficult to do. Like you have to always remind yourself to do them. Like I feel the same way about pretty much everything that you said, especially about support.
Yeah.
So it's great to hear that. And I feel like there's always politics in any role. Even as an SE, there's always politics. Like with the management, with the salespeople, it's just at a lower scale. And
100%.
it seems that the higher you grow, the wider the scale is for the politics. We're almost at the end of our time. We have 5 minutes left. What would be one piece of advice you would give someone who is thinking about going into SE management at this point in their career, or at any point in their career?
Make sure it's right for you.
How?
Does it align with your goals and what you want to do? Right? And the reason I say that, because again, you don't want to be in the position where you have to do the things that you despise. If you despise the thing that is the responsibilities of your job, don't get into it. If you don't like hard conversations, if you don't like self-reflection, if you don't like documentation, if you don't like holding people accountable, right? Like, don't get into it because you're going to be tasked with that every single day, right?
Can you give me an example of a hard conversation?
Hard conversation sometimes is as simple as a presentation, okay, that somebody thinks they did a tremendous job on. Okay, they put effort into it, energy, and I'm not picking it from, this is not a specific example. They think they did amazing. And honestly, the presentation was. However, it didn't align to what the customer needed. Okay, we've all walked into those meetings where we're just like, we're on, we got this, and you just think you knocked it out of the park. You do. Just knocked it out of the park. Till you step back and realize there was no questions. There's no engagement. You got up and spent most of the time going ahead and spewing out information. Like sort of like we were doing today, but you were asking me specific questions. I answered the specific questions. I went a little deeper on some parts, but that's what we expected for today. I hope anyways. If not, I failed. Give me an update later.
No,
but
it's good.
Having that conversation and you got to do it as soon as possible, because if not, stuff isn't fresh. And you have to give specific examples. But for Rick to then have to hop on the call, watching that person be so happy about what they did, and having to deflate that, go and listen.
Yeah.
Your content, spot on. The way you delivered it, freaking epic. But it didn't stick. I could tell in that room as I was watching that nobody kind of gloved onto it, right? They didn't get it. They didn't understand. You didn't relate. And I'm specifically putting this around a sales conversation.
Yeah. Well, the reason I'm smiling is that's exactly what happened to me, which was the genesis of VDSEs. I did a presentation. The senior VP of sales was in the room. Now, luckily, I had a good relationship with that customer.
Yeah.
That they stopped me halfway and they said, "Ramsey, I don't care about anything you're talking about," in front of the VP. And then I stopped and we kind of did discovery. What else you want to talk about?
Yeah.
And then the VP took me into a room, and he had that hard conversation. Although I didn't think it was hard. It was just he was stating a fact.
Yeah, but it's still a difficult thing for an individual. He made it seem like a good conversation. He did a great job.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking about it from my perspective. Yeah.
Right?
Like, I didn't think about him.
Yeah.
Like, he might have thought, like, oh, man, now I have to go talk to Ramsey and tell him that he sucks. And I never thought about that. I always thought like, oh, he's giving me feedback, so
Yeah.
that's good. So it's interesting that you're sharing that story, but I get the point. That's amazing. Um, if someone wants to go into leadership right now,
Yeah.
is there a book or resource? You mentioned John Kerr. Is there anybody else or one of his books specifically that helped you, or any resource?
So he's got the handbook on SE leadership. That's one I'd say anybody who is going down that path to pick it up. Anything Jocko, anything. All of his books, his handbook. I think he has 4 books in total now. He might have a new one out now too. Kind of look at that and go down that, extreme ownership path, because that can apply to anything in your life. Another thing is, if you're looking at jumping into, and I forget the names, I read the books, the specific authors, right? But another one is The First 90 Days. I think that's what it was called. And another one was I'd have to even send you these so you can throw them in a link in your screen. And another one was the concept of you're the one who has to do the thing or whatever. And I take bits and pieces from books. I never follow books to a thing, because I take the pieces that fit my personality and my way of computing things. So I'd say my leadership style is a mixture of 100 different books, but it's a paragraph here, it's a paragraph over there, it's a quote I seen here. It's something I stole from some other amazing individual that I seen them do. I love stealing people's stuff, like in a credit way, okay? Like not like take their car. Like if they did a great thing, they did a good quote, take that, use it, make it your own, even their stories. But it's the whole concept of don't just read one book either. Stack it on. Now, after you read 100, they all sound the same, but there's those pieces you can take out of it. But biggest thing, I'm going to throw it out again. Make sure it's for you. But you got to do that by educating yourself. Just don't jump into it and go, I can be a people leader. Find out what people leaders need to do.
Sometimes you don't know if any job is the right job for you until you do it, right? And then you might figure out the hard way that it's not, but you would always think that it is.
True.
So we're at the end of our time, Rick. I really appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me, Ramsey.
I hope you have fun.
I did. Blast. Hopefully, you post this. If not, you can delete it and I'll learn from the failures, right? You just let me know.
I will definitely post this. Why wouldn't I post this? No, it was good.
Okay, I don't know. You can give me the feedback right now on the podcast, or you can just end it. That's fine. You don't have to sugarcoat it.
Let's just end it, because I don't like giving good feedback recorded. So that's the end of the show. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. What did you think? What did you think about my, at that time, future manager, current manager at this point in time? Was he a good guy? I don't know. I feel like he's a good guy. We've been working together for a few months, so I've enjoyed working with him. What are your takeaways? One thing I noticed that Rick is not afraid of doing is throwing himself in an awkward position and seeing if he can get out of it, which is a skill in and on itself. Try it and let me know how it goes. With that, I will see you next season, and I'm signing off.